212. My mic sounds nice. Check one. My mic sounds nice. Check two. What's up, people? How y'all doing? How you doing? How you doing? Your man is in the house. Yeah, man. I don't know if I'm running late or if I'm just running today. I'm running. I'm scared to smile. I went to the dentist this morning and my mouth still kind of hurt. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm on Michael Jordan this one with the flu. I'm gonna work through this show, but you get what you get, man. For real, for real, for real, for real, for real, for real, for real. Yeah. I like pretty teeth, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I ain't crazy about the dentist. Say what you want to say. I got a pretty good dentist this time. It's funny. I had a a woman that I dated who went to dental school at Howard, and I always ask myself, would I trust her with my teeth? Imagine somebody you've involved with having your mouth in their hands, and and someday for whatever reason they get angry at you. I don't know if I got that much trust. I got some serious trust issues. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. So with that being said, I'm gonna say, what's up, people? Where y'all at? Everybody's running. Hey, hey, hey! It's Pinky in the brain. It's Pinky in the brain. One of us is genius, the other one insane. ah, well, I'm smiling, man, but the things we go through to look pretty, huh? I'm just pretty. People talk about Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier too ugly. Heavyweight champ. So, what's up, people? How y'all doing? Where we at? Where we at? Now, see, I purposely didn't advertise tonight, see who was here, because y'all know, come hell or high water. Now, some people sent me a little thing to ask me when I was gonna be here. Yeah, I know. I'm talking about my teeth assist. You know, I've always been known for a smile. And one thing I'm happy about being from New Orleans, and even back then, our black culture was big on gold teeth. When I turned 13, they told me I was old enough to go to the dentist without my parents' consent to get a gold tooth. And the dentist used to be on First and Claiborne in New Orleans. Shout out to Uptown or whatever, Third Ward, whatever. And he told me, he said, "Man, you got a perfect set of teeth. I'm not. In order for me to put a gold tooth in your mouth, I'm gonna have to file your teeth down." He said, "No, I'm not doing that." Then he gonna ask me, "Does your mama know you here?" And I'm like, "Does he know my mama?" And ironically, my dad stayed around the corner. Um, so it is what it is. We running slow, we running behind. What's happening with your peoples? What's happening with you? My mic sounds nice. Check one. And I am telling you. I've been having this music on the brain lately. Seems like I go someplace and I start hearing music and back in the day, I kind of fix this there. Back in the day, we used to have these white boys like Melvin Bishop and Steve Miller who kind of personified the soulful sound, like they was raised around the way, and some hip little white songs. So sometimes I'm someplace and they come on and subconsciously I'll start singing it. Sometimes late when things are real empty. And people look at me like I'm not supposed to know America. I'm not supposed to know sticks. To be a musician back in the day, you have to be able to play everybody's music. And that was a good thing about the teachers we had, from Ms. Bush to Amadou Castanel to even Ellis Marcellus. I mean, Elvin, I said Elvin Baptiste, but some of these guys, Mr. Allen, these guys, they lived music. Music was like a religion to them. So when you were in their presence, you felt the need to put forth and so forth and so on and be the best you that you could be, musically and otherwise. And to work, you have to be able to play to different audiences. The young kids today, they got it made because everybody wants to have a little second line there, and they think that's cool. That's the New Orleans experience. So everybody's gonna have somebody, baba do that and da have fun. So they really don't have to try. They don't have to learn different genres of music. They don't have to perfect the craft among different sounds. But back in the day, we played, a little of everything. I must have been through about a million girls. I love a man, I leave them alone. So we did a little Elvin Bishop. We did a little, what was his name? Peter Frampton. Woke up this morning with a wine glass in my hand. Whose wine? My wine. Where the hell did I die? So we played a little of everything. So when I go somewhere and I'm listening to what is now popular music, most of it's from that era, from the 70s. And for whatever reason, these songs are stuck in my consciousness. And when I subconsciously go off on this musical tangent, people look at me and they say things. But they always give me this look like, wow, I didn't know he knew that kind of music. And I always said that, Lionel Richie was more country than Kenny Rogers. Yeah. Only time Kenny Rogers sounded country when he did the Gambler. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em. you know, well, Lionel Richie always sound country, whether he was doing sail on down the line about a half a mile or so. Don't really want to know where you're going. So, I'm just messing around. There's so much craziness. I have to open the show were some light-hearted, joking, clowning around, so forth and so on. So you know my MO. That's the way I'm gonna do this thing in the beginning, and as time goes on, I'll get into the seriousness of the evening. Another shout out. There are times when I want to be a bragful grandfather, or even a great grandfather, and I want to post pictures, but things are so crazy now with people and you know somebody could not like something I say on my show and target one of my kids or my grandkids, and then I'm gonna have to go Rambo. Now Rambo was bad, but Rambro, as a black man with attitude and the means to extinguish a threat with extreme, what we used to call prejudice in the Marine Corps. So, and it has something to do with tonight's show. Um, so what I want to do is I want to just kind of keep it light. I want to give a shout out to my grandson, little 4-year-old Cassius Royale. My man is just starting to play t-ball, and my son is. My son wants to be. I don't know what he wants to be, but he gets angry. These kids play baseball, or t-ball, or whatever they're playing that day in front of, in the hot sun, in front of their parents and everybody. after a full day of nursery school, kindergarten, or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? It's hard enough having that kind of attention span when you're 13, and it's this time of year, and you have this thing called spring fever. So imagine how these little kids are. And my son um, FaceTime me with the game so I could watch my grandson play ball, and I could hear my son on the sideline, "Run, man, run, run! No, no, keep going, keep." And I'm like, "Yo, let him have fun. This is the stage where it's supposed to be fun." And when we stop making things that kids like to do fun, it turns into a chore and it turns them off. You know what I'm saying? And then we have to deal with the fallout of that. Now, the only thing, they're not going to include you in the things that they like to do because you've been criticizing them and this, that, and the other. So I have to remind my son, you were that age as well. And you were a little impatient, and I probably was that parent too. But I was so proud just to see him out there, especially playing baseball because my dad played baseball. And because my dad played baseball, I really didn't want to play baseball because everybody used to tell me how good my dad was and compare me to him. So I always think of what's the name? Was Grant what was Grant? Grant Hill. His dad was Calvin Hill, a running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Consequently, Grant played basketball because imagine playing football and following in your dad's footsteps. So I did the same thing. I gravitated towards football. I played a little basketball, but I was more into football. You know what I mean? Um, Ran a little track, when I felt like it, but I hate distance. Anything more than a 200, let me ride a bike or drive. Forget it. You know what I mean? So for that reason, we had this crazy crack track coach at Carver, and I wouldn't go out for the track team because I didn't want, but in gym class, I like to run the 100 and 200, especially a 100-yard dash back in the day. So shout out to these kids that are doing positive things. Use that as a segue into my show. Um, Tonight we're going to talk about some of the craziness that's going on. Now, it's that time of year where I get people driving into my driveway unannounced, knocking on the door unannounced, ringing my bell unannounced. And 9 out of 10 times, if I don't want to be bothered, I just look at the camera and let them go on about their way. If I look at their truck and they're in a roofing truck or something like that, and I want to get a free estimate, I might, engage him or listen to him for a minute. So imagine if every time somebody knocked on your door and you pulled a pistol and went ballistic. Um, Half of my friends growing up were Jehovah's Witnesses. And as a result, we treated them different than I would treat a Jehovah's Witness that I never saw before. But by the same token, they respected our difference in religion. And sometimes they would knock on the door, but usually they didn't bother us because we felt just as dedicated to what religious upbringing we were into. So, all of that to say this: in the last few days, it's become apparent that we're in this hateful society that's more than trigger happy. We're taking, we've got old ass people shooting at kids like they're playing Xbox or something, like they're playing Tour of Duty. And if somebody comes knocking on your door, here's this little 16-year-old boy, Ralph, went to pick up his siblings, knocks on the wrong door, ring the wrong doorbell, and the man comes out. 84-year-old man and shot him, not once, but twice. And luckily, he was half blind, and the boy, and I'm making light of a serious situation to keep from getting pissed off and going off on a tangent. But then in upstate New York, I think it was yesterday or day before, a little white girl and her friends pulled into the wrong driveway. And the man, as they backed out to start leaving, the man just opened fire on the car and killed this girl. The homeowner say he felt threatened. Now, I could flip this a thousand ways. I've had people, I've watched people pick up other people's Amazon and what have you. I had a package taken out of my mailbox that came from Amazon. And I'm like, if the post office delivers it, and I just went to the post office and I said, if you deliver something, even if it's a parcel and it's small enough to fit in the mailbox, get out the damn truck and bring it to the door. Knock on the door, or leave it at the door. My driveway is long enough, but most people won't venture onto my driveway because they think I'm not. I don't know. Maybe because I have, um, disabled vet tags on my car, but they somehow they know that I'm that crazy former Marine, so they don't venture onto my driveway. But I have really nice neighbors for the most part. All of that to say this: there are a million reasons why people come to your house unannounced. Why would I? And I am a gun owner. I'm a gun owner and I'm a gun collector. But the other thing I know is the use of deadly force is not something to be taken lightly. Even in the Marine Corps, in a combat situation, if you think of the movie A Few Good Men, this whole incident surrounded what they call a shooting. In Gitmo, Guantanamo, you got the Marines on one side and you got the Cubans on the other side. And for every man, it's like playing chess or checkers. For every man, there's someone who opposes them. They call it your mirror because you're keyed on this person and that person's keyed on you, and so on and so on and so on down the line. When your mirror engages, you understand? Then and only then are you supposed to react. So they said this mirror engaged, and this was the whole thing of um, A Few Good Men. Um, so even when you're in a combat situation or life-threatening situation, the use of deadly force is frowned upon, and you can be prosecuted for an unauthorized shooting. Though you have an order to defend yourself, you don't have an order to take the offensive. It's always about defense, unless you're given a direct order to proceed on the offense. Civilians don't understand this. Obviously, a lot of cops who are former military have forgotten this basic rule of the use of deadly force, or guns, or weapons. Of, so we got a 16-year-old who almost had his face on the t-shirt. We got a 20-year-old. Now, I hate to flip race into this. When we had a 16-year-old kid who was shot by an 84-year-old white man, and he has this grandson who looks like he's biracial, he says, I'm not at all surprised to see this happen with my grandfather. He said, when I heard about it, I was surprised, but not really. So even in these white families where they have black kids and grandkids and what have you, these ingrained and inbred prejudices they can't get rid of. So are you really that afraid? Or is this a golden opportunity on your part to use deadly force? Because you can hide behind this Republican so called law. And all laws are not legal or just. Called stand your ground. One of the most infamous cases was what, 11 years ago, 2012, when George Zimmerman called in Trayvon to the 911 operator. And this is the thing that should have convicted him in my life, in my eyes, in my humble opinion. He called the 911 operator and said, I see a suspicious person walking around the complex. The 911 operator told him there's a cop on the way. Do not engage, do not follow him. George Zimmerman took it upon himself to draw his pistol, put it on his waist, and follow this kid and harass this kid. So he really pushed the envelope and was responsible for not only Trayvon's death, the confrontation to begin with. And he escaped under this prejudice rule called stand your ground. In New York, Kaylin was 20 years old. She's a little white girl, little teen. And I hate when we throw race in this, but it's such a reality of where we are, not only in America, but where we are as people. 20-year-old white girl, former cheerleader, whatever, whatever, shot by a white man without hesitation. He was booked for second degree murder. Now he has yet to stand a trial, but therein lies the disparity and how we look at this. I've always said there's some of the most heinous people. And let me just give you my disclaimer. It's not all white people. Not all white people are bad, and not all black people or brown people are good. Because we have some issues, black to black and black to brown and brown to black. So let's just call it for what it is. But there seems to be a get out of jail free card, no pun intended, when it's whites defending themselves against blacks. And that's been the basis of our politics. Because of Trump, it went to a whole nother level. Now, here's your quick history lesson for the night. In 1988, I graduated from a radiology program, and I was on my way to Howard University, DC, after being in the military. When I got to Howard, this was just after, this was 2 weeks after the election, where George H.W. Bush defeated Michael Dukakis. It happened because there was a man by the name of Lee Atwater who was the architect of this reinsurgence of fear politics. We hadn't seen anything like this since Reconstruction. or after slavery, when we started to become part of the political process. Lee Atwater stirred up things because Michael Dukakis was the governor of Massachusetts. He pardoned a black man. Now, pardon me, no pun intended, but play on words. If you know anybody who went to jail for a night, a weekend, a year, they were not the same person that came out as the person that went in. So that Willie Horton received a pardon, and I'm not going to go through all of this. He received a pardon, and soon thereafter, he committed a crime, supposedly raped and murdered a white woman. And they said it was Dukakis's fault, and they used that fear of black men to propel H.W. Bush into the White House. And it took on this whole insurgence, resurgence. And what we're seeing now is the domino effect that led up to this whole Trump thing. Now, Trump has taken it to an exponential level because we're at a point, and I said this before, so history lesson number 2. In 1977, shortly after taking office, and you can look it up if you don't believe me, Jimmy Carter, the Democratic president from Georgia, the peanut farmer from Georgia, who had a black Secretary of State by the name of Andrew Young, went to the White House and he commissioned a study. I didn't bring my libation, I need something for my throat. He commissioned a study on what was called the darkening of America. The darkening of America. In 1977, this study proved that by the year 2000, white Anglo-Saxons were going to be the minority. Well, let me just keep it real. I'm gonna keep it 157 real. White Anglo-Saxon has always been the minority. When they came here, there were already some people here, half of which were my ancestors, because I've made it known that my grandfather, my mother's father, was Indian, a Native American, or the many, many, many tribes of Indians that populated North America. So they were already the minority. And it's why George III, King George III, decided to empty the prisons and send those illiterate folks who were indentured servants one step below slavery themselves. Because in England and European countries, if you worked on a land, a farm, and you had a landlord, that was a title that was given in Europe. Lord. These lords own pieces of land. And they had people that worked these lands for them. This where the term sharecropper came from. And they took the lion's share of everything that they grew. And sometimes they left not even enough for the family to feed themselves. So the families went into debt. And as the man of the house, not only were you responsible for this debt, but your wife and your family were responsible as well. So you could be locked up in pauper's prisons until your family raised enough crops or this landlord, out the goodness of their heart, decided that you could go back and work the farm. So imagine, if you will, if the harvest season was for 4 months and they decided to lock you up for the remaining 8 months out of the year. They were well in their rights in doing so. Like I said, what's always legal isn't right or just. So let me just bring all of this shit back. We're at a point where people feel, because they're in a position of color, the best way for them to protect themselves, according to the Jimmy Carter study, the Democrat, who's a peanut farmer from Georgia, who had the black Secretary of State by the name of Andrew Young, who just happened to be from my home of Louisiana, and who later became the mayor and so forth in Atlanta and what have you. It created this thing that we're seeing now. So now this hate is at a fever. If no more analogies, let me bring this back. I believe if he has one, I should have one. See, I have to deal with Pookie, Ray Ray, Jim Bob, Clem, and all of them. So with that comes a certain responsibility, because I know the damage that I can do. Even with me getting older and my eyesight getting worse, I'm probably gonna hit what I'm shooting at. Always tell women, if you buy something, two rules. Don't pull it unless you can use it and it's time to use it. And number two, don't buy it if you don't think you could take a life. So I'm caught up in this catch 22. One thing's for damn sure, I'm not going to shoot anyone who comes knocking on my door unless they truly pose a threat to me and mine. And I think it's time to start holding people accountable, regardless of color of skin, regardless of this, that, the other. I don't care if he's 84 and only has 3 days to live. His ass should be locked up. So I wanted to keep this light. I wanted to talk about Mike Lindell and the fact that my pillow guy, who is super racist and has become a millionaire on his racism, dare anybody to prove that, in fact, Donald Trump lost the election and it was one of his own. And if they could prove it, he said that he would give them $5 million on TV, and he lost. One of the Trumpsters said, hey, yeah, look, I believe that the election was rigged. I want to see the evidence. And then this Trumpster turned around and said, after evaluating all of this evidence, Joe Biden not only won, but what, Mike Lindell, you owe me $5 million. And I also wanted to talk about Fox News or lack thereof. So Fox disseminates this hateful rhetoric in, I won't even call it information. So let's call it propaganda that stirs these people up. And as a result, they went against the companies that build and operate the voting machines, Dominion. And now they're going to have to pay something like, I don't know, 577 million, $700 million and la da 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 da. But what they don't have to do is say we were wrong. So how do you have a libel suit where you libel somebody or you slander someone's name and you don't have to apologize? Folks, again, I want to shout out to all of these little kids that's doing some positive things. This week I posted something and it wasn't for self-recognition. It was to remind you guys that we all have the power to positively affect someone's life. When I saw this woman, I didn't see my grandmother. I saw some of the little old people pushing carts. I saw some of the little old people who might not be starving, but may not be in a situation that you or I are in. So I posted the story of buying her lunch. And all of you guys, I applaud you for giving me a attaboy pat on the back. And I said this to you, each and every one of you. It's no big deal because the people that follow me, people that I call friends, the people that I call family, I know that you would do the same thing. So the only thing that we can do to counteract some of this as what we choose to do. I don't post a lot of pictures of my grandkids simply because I don't want them to be targeted. Because then you're going to see some black op shit. You're going to see some Jason Bourne shit and you're going to say, I ain't know my man was that crazy. So moving forward, people, let's come together to get rid of some of these people like the Ron DeSantis and Marjorie TGs and all of these people who've decided that the easiest way for them to seize power is by promoting hate. We got a lot of kids out there, a lot of your kids. I see them, they have such bright futures. So let's come together, let's do this. My heart is heavy. There's too many names, there's too many stories. Kyle Rittenhouse, this idiot yesterday, this little knucklehead brother. No, no, let me take that back. Because he was black doesn't make him a brother. In Gastonia, just outside of Charlotte, shot at this man, shot this man and his daughter because our basketball landed on supposedly his property. But now it comes out that he just started living with his girlfriend. That's all I got. That's all I could talk about. I'm full. I'm up to here. My mouth hurt. I went to the dentist, but I got a pretty smile. So do me a favor. Let's post some positive stuff. Let's counteract all of this bullshit and let's prove to our kids that this world is still worth living in, that this world that we believe in and our families is still worth fighting for. And I'll see you next week. Before I go, I'm going to tell you, go to my YouTube channel. That's it right there, Omit da Logic. OMITdaLogic. Omit da Logic. Sign up, subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I put new content up there. And in the meantime, in between time, I will be here. I will see you here next Thursday, same Baptiste time, same Baptiste. And as I always say, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose, a reason. Because the one thing about this game called life, nobody leaves. And always important. I wish you love. I wish you peace. Two fingers to the sky. Like your man. Yeah, Grace. I love you to death. And nothing you could do about it. So keep on making me proud. I'm out of here. Good night. Facebook, we good? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I know you guys got a delay. They're scared I'm going to say what I say when I say what I'm going to say. Good show. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Why did you got you buffering because you spitting the truth? That's all right, because here's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to clean this shit up after we all over. They got me buffering because they, like I said, they're scared I'm going to say what I say when I say what I say. But it's all good. So give me a minute. I'm going to go ahead and clean this shit up. We're going to go through the final edit. I'm going to hook it up. And I need y'all to do me a favor. Since you know this is real, since you know this is knowledge, since you know this is useful, pass it on. Let's really piss them off. Let's act like this is a TikTok with, I don't know, a pregnant Rihanna. Let's make this shit go viral. Because as far as I'm concerned with them, I got no shits to give, and I'm overdue with the ones I'm supposed to give about. So, as always, we out, baby. Good night, y'all. Love you to death.